Hello students! How are you today? This is Teacher Catherine Sakino, your physical education teacher. Are you ready to learn today? Clap your hands 3 times if you are ready. Good! Before we begin our lesson, let me show you the most essential learning competencies. First, undertakes physical activity and physical fitness assessments. And second, executes the skills involved in the dance. For you to be guided on what you are going to learn today, bear in mind that you are expected to do the following. 1. Identify and discuss the different locomotor and non-locomotor movements. 2. Execute the basic folk dance steps in 2/4 times signature. And number 3, appreciate the value of the basic movements in executing festival dances. Now, I want you to get your notebook or paper, ball pen, and your PE module so you can follow our discussion and answer some of our activities. Before we start, let's have a short review about our past lesson. Our lesson last week was all about festival dances, specifically the religious and non-religious festivals. For Activity 1, you will name the different festivals that I am going to show in the pictures and classify them into religious and non-religious festival. I will give you 10 seconds to answer each item. Class, are you ready to answer? Alright, let's begin! Woo! Picture number 1. What is the answer? Yes, the answer is Mascara Festival, and that is a non-religious festival. Next, picture number 2. Class, what is the answer? That's correct, Ati-Atihan Festival, which is classified into a religious festival. Picture number 3. What is the answer? Correct! Pintados Festival, and it is a religious festival. Picture number 4. What is the answer? Very good! The answer is Bangus Festival, which is a non-religious festival. And the last picture is for number 5. What is the answer? Great! Talong Festival, a non-religious festival. Class, your answers are correct. Now that you are already familiar with the different religious and non-religious festivals, I want you to watch a sample video of the Talong Festival and observe the movements that they used. Are you ready? Let's start! What have you noticed in the video? You noticed that aside from the colorful costumes and implements, there are also different movements that were used in the dance in order to portray or show the culture inherent to their place of origin. What are the movements that they used in the festival dance? Very good. They used walking, running, jumping, turning, twisting, and many more. What do you think should one know and do to come up with an easier festival dance routine? That's right. You should know the different basic movements used in the festival dance. Our today's lesson is all about the basic movements and folk dance steps used in festival dances. Later on, you will execute the movements. There are two types of movements used in festival dance: the locomotor and non-locomotor movements. What is locomotor movements? Locomotor movements are movements that allow you to move from one point in space to another. Locomotor is canned from two words: the word locus, which means place, and motor, which means movement. The second movement is non-locomotor movements. These are movements that are performed in one point in space without transferring to another point. What are the different locomotor movements? Locomotor movements include the following.
Step. This is the basis of all locomotor movements. It is defined as transfer of weight from one foot to the other. Walk. Series of steps executed by both of your feet alternately in any direction. Run. Series of walks executed quickly in any direction, wherein only one foot stays on the ground while the other is off the ground. Jump. This movement is simply described by having both feet lose its contact with the ground.
So those are the different locomotor movements. But how about non-locomotor movements? These are the following.
Flexion. The act of decreasing the angle of a joint. It is also called to bend. Extension. The opposite of flexion. You are extending if you are increasing the angle of a joint. Contraction. A muscle movement done when it shortens, narrows, and tightens using sufficient amount of energy in the execution. Release. A muscle movement opposite to contraction done when it let goes or let looses of being held into a shortening movement. Collapse. To deliberately drop the exertion of energy into a body segment. Recover, the opposite of collapse. This is to regain the energy exerted into a body segment. Rotation, to move a body segment, allowing it to complete a circle with its motion. Can be done in wrist, waist, knees, and ankles. Twist, to move a body segment from an axis halfway front or back or quarter to the right or left. Pivot, to change the position of the feet or any body part that carries the body's weight, allowing the body to face in less than 360-degree turn. Turn, to move in a turning movement with a base of support, usually a pointed foot, the other raised, while equilibrium is maintained until the completion of the turn.
Now that we have already identified the basic movements to be used in creating festival dance routine, we now move on to some folk dance steps which are commonly used in festival dances. For you to be able to execute properly the basic folk dance steps, you must know the name of the dance step, the step pattern, and the counting. Let us now learn how to execute some of the basic folk dance steps used in festival dances. Watch these videos and follow how each step is done. Come on, let's begin!
Close step, step pattern, step close, counting 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Execute the close step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready? End.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Blacking. Step pattern. Heel place close. Counting 1, 2.
Blacking. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Execute the blacking step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready? End.
Blacking. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Change step. Step pattern. Step close step. Counting 1 and 2.
1 and 2, 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 1 and 2.
Execute change step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready? End.
1 and 2, 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 1 and 2.
Cross change step. Step pattern. Cross close step. Counting 1 and 2.
1 and 2, 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 1 and 2.
Execute the cross change step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready? End.
1 and 2, 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 1 and 2.
Touch step. Step pattern. Touch close step, counting 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Execute the touch step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready, end.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Hop step. Step pattern. Step, hop. Counting 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Execute the hop step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready, end.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Mincing step. Step pattern. Point, step, point, step. Counting and 1 and 2.
Mincing. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2.
Execute the mincing step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready, end.
Mincing. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2.
Cross step. Step pattern. Cross step. Counting 1, 2.
Cross step. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Execute the cross step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready, end.
Cross step. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Heel and toe change step. Step pattern, heel place, toe touch, step, close step. Counting 1, 2, 1 and 2.
Heel and toe change step. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 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 1, 2, 1 and 2 and.
Execute the heel and toe change step. Do it in 8 measures. Ready, end.
Heel and toe change step. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 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 1, 2, 1 and 2 and. After executing the basic movements and basic folk dance steps, how do you find the activity? Was it easy or hard? Did you enjoy it? I hope you enjoyed it. What is the significance of knowing the basic movements in festival dances? Very good! The basic movements are necessary for you to know and be able to do in producing your own festival dance relative to the context of the festival you are celebrating. Especially if you are going to visit other towns' festival, you will be aware of what the movements mean to them. Class, let us have a short quiz about the basic movements that we have discussed a while ago. Identify the following basic movements that will be shown in the video. You will be given 5 seconds to answer each item. Let us have video number 1. 5 seconds to answer. Video number 2. Video number 3. Video number 4. And lastly, video number 5. Let us see if you got the correct answers. For video number 1, the answer is walk. Video number 2, the answer is run. For video number 3, the answer is extension. For video number 4, the answer is collapse. And lastly, for video number 5 is flexion. Class, did you get the correct answers? Very good. Now, let us proceed to your performance task. Number 1. You will create a 3-figure with 16 counts festival dance routine using the basic movements, locomotor and non-locomotor movements, and folk dance steps. You can use any festival dance music that you want. Example, piliin mo ang Pilipinas. You will also describe what you feel while doing the activity. Number 2. Please refer to the rubrics to assess your performance. Number 3. You are going to record your performance and send it to our Facebook group page. Take note, if there is no available gadgets that can record a video, you may send pictures capturing the dance performance to your Muppet teacher. Class, for your assignment, you will answer the activities in your PE9 Quarter 3 worksheets. So that concludes our lesson for basic movements and basic folk dance steps in festival dance. I hope you learned something and apply it in your dance performance. Once again, I am Teacher Catherine Sakino, your MAPE 9 teacher. See you next time!